Darkness cannot chase out light. Light chases out darkness. So those of us who are struggling to find purpose out of our past pain, God is saying today, I came to set you free. I came to set you free. The same Jesus who told Peter he would betray him was the same Jesus who told Peter he would use him to build his church. And the thing that's amazing about it is the God who knows all told Peter long before he denied him that he would be used to build his church. So when he told Peter what he was going to do, what he was saying is, I know you're going to fail me, but I've still got purpose for you. I know you're going to fail me, Peter, but don't forget who you are. And that's why I only have 2 points I want to leave you with today. The first is this, my brothers and my sisters, hear me. Your brokenness is not your burden. Your brokenness is your ministry. There are some of you in this room right now that are praying for God to deliver you from your past. But God is not going to deliver you from your past until you deliver your past to your future as your ministry. There are people who need hope, who need to see in you that there is a potential for a better life. But if we continue to hide that beneath the surface of Sephora and them, they will assume that we've got it all together. Some of you in here are saying, how can I possibly be better than my past when my past is not behind me? It's something I wake up with every single morning. Well, let me tell you something. Back in Peter's day, they didn't wake up to iPhone alarms with the sounds of oceans and our favorite song and birds chirping. No, they woke up to one sound every single day, and that was the rooster. So every single morning, Peter had to wake up to the sound of his shame. And I want to bring this message right to your doorstep, because some of you are hearing me, but you don't realize that this message is for you. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about the sister who right now you think, I cannot possibly be better than my past because the growing belly that I'm waking up to every morning reminds me and everybody around me of the night that I settled for lust when what I really wanted was love. Or maybe you're the sister who scrolls through Instagram and you see the post from that man talking about how much he loves his wife, and it fills you with confusion because it's the same man that calls you whenever he's in town, and you go get with him and then he leaves you and he goes back to posting about how much he loves his wife, and every time you see that, you're filled with confusion and shame. Or maybe you're the brother who you wait at the bus stop that you used to drive by in your BMW that got repossessed when you filed for bankruptcy because you were trying to show everybody that you had made it, but what they didn't know is your making it was actually on credit. Or maybe you're the sister who every time you get a baby shower invitation, you become filled with shame because that baby shower invitation reminds you of the pregnancies that you chose to end. And now that you're married and you and your husband want to have a baby, you're struggling to get pregnant, and people say to you, when are you going to have a child? But what they don't know is you already did. See, people in these situations think, how could I possibly be better than my past when I wake up with my past every single day? But what I came to tell you is I want to encourage you out of the life of the Apostle Paul. See, many people think of Paul as the greatest church planter of all times, but what they fail to realize is he was also one of the greatest church persecutors of all times. And let me tell you what he said in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. He said, and lest I should be exalted above measure by the abundance of the revelations, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I be exalted above measure. Concerning this thing, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. You see, as long as we have the righteousness, the competence, the confidence, the connections to accomplish things in our life, we can point to ourselves and say, good job, self. But when we have to say, I don't know how I got here. I can't even tell you my story. I've been through so many things. I have failed God so many times, and yet he still chooses to use me. Then God gets the glory. I believe that so many of us are hiding behind the facade and the veneer of having it all together. And because we're in hiding, God can't use us. Because God wants to use our broken parts to prove to people that he can heal them. You know, when I stand up here, I have no idea how I got here. I was sexually abused by my mother's boyfriend for almost 7 years of my childhood, beginning at the age of 5. At the age of 7, I finally told my mother what he was routinely doing to me, and she had him arrested. But on the day of his release, she took me with her to go pick him up and brought him back home, where he proceeded to abuse me again. And at the age of 9, I tried to take my life and it didn't work. At the age of 11, I tried to take my life and it didn't work. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I didn't know about Jesus. I didn't know about God. I didn't know about the Bible. I didn't know about a hope or a future. But shortly after my second suicide attempt in the 6th grade, a classmate invited me to church, and I had never heard of church. But when I walked in those doors, people who didn't know my story loved me, and they affirmed me, and they encouraged me. And the very first sermon I ever heard, the pastor said, God is a father to the fatherless. And he did not know that my father had died right before my 2nd birthday. But when I discovered that there was a God in heaven who could use my broken parts and pieces, I said, Lord, I choose to live. I choose to live. I am a walking, talking, living, breathing statistical anomaly, and there are so many of you looking at me right now that are the exact same way. You should not be where you are. You should not have what you have. Because of what your past contains, you should not be where you are. But the grace of God reaches deeper than any shame could ever take us down. And I need you to know this, because the devil is so sneaky. He will make you think, oh yeah, see what you did. Yeah, God can't use you. Keep that to yourself. Oh yeah, what happened to you? Don't tell anybody about that, because they'll just look at you as damaged goods. But God is saying, no, tell the story, because people need to know that I am a redeemer. He can use our broken parts and pieces. There are people in this world who need to hear your story, because your voice is the one that they have ears to hear. See, the thing a lot of people get confused is they think, well, I'm going to minister to somebody by inviting them to church. Let me tell you something. Statistically, right now in America, only 20% of people are coming to a church service on the weekend. Do you know where the other 80% are? Everywhere you are. So what that means is there are people in your neighborhood, at your grocery store, on your job, who need to hear how Jesus has changed your life. And the only way you can tell them how he's changed your life is to be honest about what he brought you from. But the devil works so hard to silence our voice, to make that rooster crow in our minds and make us think I have no right to tell my story because people will look at me differently. I hope they do look at you differently, because you are a product of grace. People need to know that God's grace is real. Freedom is the daily act of finding our identity in who Jesus says we are. The rooster's gonna tell you all the time what you can't be and what you can't do, and oh, remember what you did and all of that. But the rock is within you. Your brokenness is not your burden. Your brokenness is your ministry. The second point, the rooster is your pain, but the rock is your purpose. Before the rooster told Peter that he was a traitor, Jesus told Peter that he was a builder. Jesus told Peter, I'm going to use you to build that which for I came to earth to die. I'm going to use you. And you know what? You're going to deny me. You will. But that doesn't invalidate what I've called you to do. It's so funny. You see, Jesus said to Peter, and I tell you that you are Peter, as if it was an answer to a question. And I thought about that thing, and God revealed something to me. You see, a lot of times we think the devil is out here trying to take our house, trying to take our car, trying to turn off our electricity, trying to, mess up our life. But the truth is, if you pay your bills, you will retain authority over those things. And you won't have to go to the enemy's camp trying to get your car note back. All right? So next time you have a choice between paying your mortgage and going to see Beyonce, we just need to make the right decision, and then the devil won't have any room. But I know nobody in here is in that boat, so I'm just speaking to whoever out there. But you see, the devil's not out here repossessing stuff because he could care less about your stuff. What the devil wants is he wants your witness. He wants your witness. Because there are people who, if they only knew what God brought you from, they would know that Jesus is real, and they would choose to serve him, and they would come into the kingdom of God. But what he tries to do is silence your witness, because if he can silence your witness, then the people who depend on hearing your voice will remain in bondage. There are people in this world that you can bring to this church on any given day, and they will walk out the exact same way. But if you just sit down with them over a cup of coffee and tell them your story, they will choose Jesus. So the devil wants, more than anything, for shame to silence your voice. But you are not who shame says that you are. You are more than a conqueror. You are already victorious. You are not fighting for victory. You already got the victory, baby. So I don't care what the devil tries to tell you. There is nothing that you've done, there's nothing that has happened to you that has somehow invalidated you.